Hi, Edwin. Good morning.
Hey, Dipu. How are you? Good afternoon for you.
Fine, thank you.
Yeah,
Great
excellent.
to
Good
see
to see you.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
excellent.
lot of excitement has built up to our chat, and a lot of people have joined. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you very
see
much,
it.
for taking out time, to be part of this conversation.
Looking forward
And
to it.
yep, absolutely. And as you can see, a lot of people are just joining. So I guess we'll just give people a couple of seconds to join,
Yeah.
and
Good,
then
good, good.
we'll kickstart. Yeah, just wait for a
It'll
couple of seconds.
it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That's good.
yep, absolutely. So how is the weather out there? Has it been comfortable?
Oh, it's not very good for the moment. We've had amazing weather the previous weeks, and since two,
Okay.
3 days, it's the total difference. It was like a summer, late summer, and now it's like winter almost. We have
Okay.
14 degrees, rain, cold, dark.
Oh,
Suddenly it's
okay.
different. Yeah, but it's
Okay.
okay. We
Yeah.
needed a bit of rain. We didn't have enough the previous weeks. How
Oh,
about you?
okay. Okay.
Your side, Pune? How are things?
Well, yeah, the weather has been good, Edwin. In fact, Pune is blessed with good weather. I think that's one of the, joys of the city. So we
Mm,
have had,
I know.
good weather. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying a hello to all the participants. As I can see, a lot of people are joining. Good morning, folks. I know it's one-way conversation, so thank you all for joining and making it exciting. It's good to see a continuous stream of people joining. As soon as we went live, and we went live on the dot. So I guess that's thanks to all the good work that the team has done behind the scenes. To ensure that
Indeed.
everybody's conscious of time. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
as I was telling Edwin, dear audience, we'll just wait for a few minutes for people to join. As you can see, there's a steady stream of people joining in, and once we are able to get going, then I'll have the privilege of introducing Edwin, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Good.
Yep.
While we're waiting, in Pune, do you have, maybe it's a silly question, but do you have monsoon rains like in Mumbai, or because I know it's more
We
clement,
have,
isn't it, in
yeah,
Pune?
we do have Edwin. No, it's not a silly question. It's a perfectly natural question. We do have, monsoon rains in Mumbai, like in Mumbai. But the difference, Edwin, is, Mumbai is on the coast, therefore it gets a heavier rainfall, and
Yeah.
Pune is, slightly hilly, so it's slightly
Yeah, that's
protected.
true. That's why. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been there, but then everything was very normal at that point in time. But I've been many times to Mumbai, and many times it always happened to be during monsoons, and then all hell broke loose with the rains and 10, 20 centimeters of water in the streets. 1 second everything was fine, blue skies. Next second, everything
Yeah.
was like a river everywhere, and then a few hours later it was fine again. It's so funny
Yeah,
actually.
that is true. I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of nature, right? One moment
Yeah.
it's very tough, and then after that you start to feel it's normal, and
Yeah.
that's I guess one thing which never ceases to amaze you is nature, right? How it's just amazing.
Yeah. A lot of good
Yeah.
fun.
So I think Edwin, we'll give it a go now. I can see. Okay, I'll just wait for maybe just a couple of seconds because we do typically see a lot of people joining in. Yeah, and just a couple of seconds. Thank you, audience, for all joining and making this lively session. I guess we're all excited. I've been seeing the excitement build up over the last few days, and specifically the last few hours. In terms of people reaching out, asking questions, and many people asked how to join, how to get going. Yeah, so thank you all. So I'll now get started. Firstly, Edwin, thank you very much for taking time out to join us on
My
the
pleasure.
show. Thank you. You will be happy to know that you are our first guest outside Asia. So far, we've had a lot of
An
guests
honor.
from Asia. You're the first guest from Europe, so thank you for that. And dear audience, I have the privilege, of introducing, Edwin to you. Edwin is a highly accomplished man. Please do not, go by, his simple, outlook. He's a very simple and down-to-earth person, but he's a highly accomplished, individual. He is, like if you look at, Charles Dickens' book of, A Tale in Two Cities, he's actually based in two cities. He is based in
It's true.
Brussels, and London,
Yeah.
and he, keeps shuttling back and forth. He's a computer science engineer, who finished his, engineering in 1985. And all of you will be happy to know he's highly educated. He has done his PhD, in information theory and an MBA as well, right, in 89. So
Yep.
computer science engineering, MBA, PhD. I mean, I guess, it doesn't get, you can't have a person more qualified than that.
There was nothing left in university to study after that. So
really good to know that.
that's not true.
And for, those of you who think of Edwin from a digital and financial services perspective, you'll be happy to know that, he's a certified expert, right? In court, and he has settled nearly 40 plus, IT lawsuits, right? So if you want any tips on that, where to go. He was the founder and CEO of a VC funded, client saver, company as well, SI company from 89 to 95. And he's after that had a long and, distinguished, career in Accenture. In fact, I was reading his bio, it was like a fairy tale, right? Somebody who joins and goes about, a variety of roles, and then rises to the current level, right? Where he's senior managing director and the lead for Accenture's financial services, digital and analytics practice, right? It just sounds so impressive, hearing the scope of work that he does. So while Edwin has been through a variety of roles, right? I'll pick a few highlights. He developed Accenture's, insurance high performance point of view as late back as 2003, 2004. And then, he worked in, Accenture's UK and Ireland insurance practice, up to 2009. He was also part of Basel III, in terms of, the kickoff, with the chairman of the liquidity stream, and the Basel committee, along with, FSB for G20, in 2010 and 11. He created and led financial services analytics worldwide between 2009 and 2014. He led Accenture's, digital decoupling. And now, in his primary role, it's customer sales and service practice lead for Europe. So Edwin, with such a distinguished, career behind you, as I said, I can read out more, but I thought I'll pick the key highlights. It's a privilege to have you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
And for the audience, welcome Edwin. And for the audience, I'll just start off with, one question, which will make all of you, feel very close to him. When I spoke to Edwin, I realized that his wife is Indian. And when I heard the word Upanishads from his lips, I said, I couldn't resist, having that as a starting point. So Edwin, before we get into, insurance and InsureTech and customers, would be glad to hear from you, about your knowledge of India. I think the audience is looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Dipu. Actually, the real star in this story is my wife. Actually, her name is Smita Joshi. That's a very easy name to remember, Smita Joshi, and she's originally from India. She's a British citizen now, but she's from Gujarat. She came from Porbandar, Gandhi town, as they say. So she used to live there with her grandfather, who was a lawyer, and he actually long time ago, long before she was born, he actually did a number of lawsuits together with Gandhi, actually. So anyway, she comes from that region, and she always learned from her parents and her grandparents about the Vedic texts, and she was taught Sanskrit. So she speaks and writes and reads Sanskrit. There are not many like that. And so she's always been reading those ancient texts, in the original form, the Upanishads, the Gita and other lots of stuff. And I find that also extremely interesting. So that's one of the places where we meet. So we've been traveling a lot in India, to Rishikesh, for example, and to go to the Vijasta cave and find all the old books and scriptures. And she has a YouTube channel called the Self-Discovery Channel, and she wrote 3 books called Karma and Diamonds, because it's about taking the lessons from the old texts, which when you read them, it's amazing how they ring true. It's like you would say, wow, it's from today, actually. So, but then she puts them in those books, so in with a sort of a life story. So to make them real for the real life of today, so you don't have to kind of wear sandals and put on a rope and go in the mountains in a cave to kind of find enlightenment and balance in life. So how can you do that in the current stress type of life that we all lead? So she's done that, and that's what she's busy with. And she's also writes meditations. So she's on Insight Timer, among others. You can just Google her, Smita Joshi. You'll see all of her website and her stuff. And she's also interviewed lots of gurus. So we've been, when they were in the UK or the US or actually in India, we've got Sadhguru, we've got Gurunath, who's not far from Pune. She actually helped him with his translation of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras from Sanskrit.
Wow.
Yeah, recently, not too long ago. Yeah, it's really fun, to see these things.
Right.
She's been with, we've been with Puji Swami Chidanand Saraswati in Rishikesh at the Parmat Niketan. Yeah, Guru Nath, I said Sadhguru. There's Shivani, Sister Shivani from the Parma Kumaris. She's interviewed Balkrishna from Ramdev, in Haridwar.
Okay.
Oh, and I could Bunker Roy from Barefoot College. Who else? Dr. Yunus, actually, from Bangladesh, who's a Nobel Prize winner from Grameen Bank, which is interesting because I've been part of the Basel Committee when we recreated the financial system after the previous financial crisis. And around that time, we met him. And we went to visit him in Bangladesh, and I thought it was hugely inspiring how they do the how they invented microcredit to help to help really poor people, and we saw how they lift millions and millions of people out of poverty. So it was interesting to, on the one hand, be working on the financial architecture of the high finance of the world, and on the other hand, seeing and helping how to do microfinance and collecting it all together.
Absolutely.
And then we do a lot of charity and so on. So anyway, I could go on for hours about that, but that gives you a bit of a sense of who I am and who we are and how we integrate East and West culture and how we're so interested in the Indian today's culture and food, I would say, my favorite food, but also the ancient culture and we like to visit India as much as we can. So there
Thank
you go.
So much for that, Edwin. Just hearing that from your own, words, I think, it's very heartwarming, for the entire audience to hear you speak about, Patanjali, Yoga Sutras and, all the gurus, right? Because, and you, like you rightly said, the East and West, I think the combination of East and West has a lot to offer to the world, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Great introduction, Edwin. Yeah, and I'm sure the audience has already warmed up to you tremendously, hearing this. You can see in all the comments that people are saying, wow, that's great, incredible, so on and so forth. Yeah. So with that in mind, Edwin, with that lovely introduction, we'll dive deep into our conversation. So the first conversation, and today while COVID-19 or Corona is a much hyped word, unfortunately you cannot help talk about it because it is the unseen elephant in the room, right? I'm saying unseen because it's a small organism, and I'm saying elephant because it just has an impact on everything, right?
Yeah.
So while everybody is saying that the pandemic has possibly brought 2025 into 2020, right? And there are changes in consumer behavior, it's putting pressure on the brand, right? What do you think has been the main reason behind adopting technology so far?
No, it's a good question, obviously, and it's all very sad that we have to go through this COVID thing, and hopefully it can get under control as soon as possible, of course. But what is really interesting about it, actually, the timing is really historic. I mean, the coincidence, in a sense. I've been leading digital for Accenture in financial services since we started with digital as a practice and as we saw it as a movement coming up. So that's like 2012, 2013 and so on, when that was after the 4G phones really came out and, because that enabled digital, and then with social media exploded and so on, so on. So since then we've had this trend of digital, and then banks became more digital, insurance companies, everything became more digital, and we have this thing about the trends for the future, and with the projections of how things would be according to us when they go on at the same sort of speed for the next years. And I thought it was really curious that we had actually published our latest view on that, actually just before the lockdowns. And then after the lockdown happened and we saw all the changes, I said, well, actually, it looks suddenly like we're already in 2025. because that's what it said in our predictions. This is how it's going to be in 5 years from now. So it's like a fast forward to 2025, and that's probably a good way to look at it. And one of my clients said to me, one of the executives of one of the top banks in the world said, no, you're not right, Edwin. That's not true. He says it's warp speed. He says it's warp speed. I said, okay. Warp speed. So warp speed to 2025 in terms of changes. And the way to look at it is when the lockdowns happened, it's a bit like an unscheduled user acceptance test. across the
Lovely
whole
way,
world.
lovely term.
Yeah? Lovely to think
Yeah.
about it. No? So it's like we said to the whole world, stop what you're doing, stop what you're doing, put down your pens, all right? Don't
Right.
go out of the door, no more paper. And from now on, we're going to try everything, but literally everything, only through
Correct.
digital. Everybody.
Right.
And let's see what happens.
Right.
Unplanned, unscheduled, unprepared. Let's just see what happens. All right, that's what
Right.
happened in a sense. And it's really interesting because then what you could see is the companies that actually have been doing good digital transformations in the past, they survived and they did really, really well because things worked. And then there's companies that always said like, well, digital, we'll see, not that important, you know, who knows? Yeah, well, they all went down, of course. And then you've got the ones in the middle. That's it. And that's something where I was always like with my clients was saying, guys, think about this. When we were doing digital transformation, say, oh, but this year we'll do a little bit of digital. And then next year we'll do a little bit more of digital. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't work. You can't do a little bit of digital. It's either digital or it's not digital. So a lot of bankers and big CEOs of insurance companies then afterwards started telling me after, you know, once we were in May and so on, and the first months were over, they said, gosh, yeah, now I understand when you said you need to do end-to-end digital. Because when it's 90% digital, it doesn't work because that last 10%, you know, I still need a piece of paper. I still need a human being to talk to physically, you know, face to face, not through Instagram or something, but face to, yeah. And then of course it's not possible. So then it breaks down. So suddenly end to end, everybody understands what that really means. So now we're in that area where it's really, everybody understands it's what digital really is. And I call it digital by default. Digital by default. It's not digital on the side. It's not digital first. It's not digital only. It's digital by default. Because there's nobody, there's no company in the world that I've seen, whether it's small or big. Maybe it's the corner shop. Maybe it's the guy who's selling a few eggs from chickens. Nobody in the world now is first setting up a physical shop. Everybody understands it has to be digital. And it's very easy to do. So everybody now sets up digital, and then they think about what to do, need to do physical. Okay.
Yes.
Do I also need a physical shop? Do I need
exactly?
Do I need do I need something like? Do I need a distribution chain? Do I need people that interact with my clients? Now I will need people. So that's what we say. The human part of the story is absolutely critical. Human beings. So don't let me say that there's only digital. But it's very different from the past. In the past, we used to have the normal way of doing things, which is with human beings. And then we had a bit of digital on the side in an app or something. Now it's all end-to-end to 100% digital. But the human beings are there for the really, really critical things. And it forces all of the banks, insurance companies, all companies in the world to really think hard the human aspect of things. Why is that so important? And then they can articulate it. And it's really great because then you see the value of human beings. And I think it's actually quite beautiful, almost poetic in a sense, because the app takes care of all the bureaucracy, of all the paperwork of the old days. So boring anyway, So it's true, no? So now the digital part takes care of that. And life becomes easier. And we can concentrate on where the human beings are more important. So if you take insurance, like with you guys, well, your agents and your advisors and something, and brokers and so on. I mean, they were doing paper. I mean, not for you specifically, I don't know, but in general, they were doing paperwork for most of their day. It's not very interesting, no? It's also not very interesting.
Right, absolutely.
But if all of that is digital and is done automatically or almost automatically, they can concentrate on the advice part. They can concentrate on understanding the real needs of the customer, developing a personal relationship, talking to them, looking them in the eye. People can ask questions. And I think that's the true value of human beings in the whole story, It's not to do the boring stuff, but it's to concentrate on the critical stuff. And that's, for me, the revolution that is now happening. So, they always say every cloud has a silver lining. Well, that would be the silver lining of COVID. Luckily, there is a silver lining, is that hopefully, I think it will make things better over the next years, actually. So that's my view on things.
No, no, wonderful, wonderful insights. Edwin, your entire, experience shown through. And just to,
Yeah,
maybe reflect on some of the points that you made. You spoke
yeah,
about digital by default. In fact, that's a theme, one of our parents, Allianz has,
yeah,
from from a
absolutely,
digital perspective. And the others to the point that you made, that human beings are, basically now they can realize their value because they'll focus on higher value activities. For example, we have seen in our business that when we digitize processes, core human skills like empathy and care can be automated. That's where human beings come in.
exactly,
So
exactly.
in this digital world, when we have done that, we have had a high NPS. We have a scheme called, relationship manager at hospital, where the person gives empathy and care while it does digital processing. This for patients at
Exactly. So
hospitals,
you
and
already
they
get
love
it.
it. Yeah, and our NPS is 90 without a single detractor. So
Well, there you
that's an
go. You are
example.
the living proof of that. You are the living proof.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for your
And
kind
I'm not
words.
here to make advertising, but it's true, no. And I think and Allianz is known worldwide as one of the most advanced insurance companies. So that's why it's also a pleasure for me to talk about this here. But it's true. It's exactly like that, and you see the results. I mean, it's good for the company, and it's especially good for the customers. Huh? And I think because we've seen a number of companies that did not understand this message in the previous years, and they just digitized everything, but they didn't do the human part. But then it becomes like a wall, a digital wall between them and the customer, and all the customer sees is an impersonal app, and that's not nice, no. So that's the opposite of NPS. Then the NPS goes down, and
Absolutely.
it's exactly that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
logical, no? You want to deal with human
Right.
beings. Yeah.
Absolutely, Edwin. Yeah. Now I'll come to the second part of our
Yeah.
topic, which is InsureTechs. Yeah. So Edwin, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of curiosity. InsureTechs burst onto the scene. Then during COVID-19, some of them went through their own changes, right?
Yeah.
So how do you see emerging from this? What are the changes you see in InsureTechs going forward?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a very exciting thing. I used to have, like you said, long time ago now, I
Right.
used to have my own company with venture
Right.
capital, and things were a lot different in those days, especially
Right.
in Europe. Innovation was not a big thing. And
Right.
I remember I had just to give you an idea how things were. Huh? I had done my PhD, my MBA, and so on. And everybody said to me, "So, are you which large company are you going to work for? Because you've got such an amazing, career in
Right.
academia." And I said, "I'm not gonna work for a big company. I'm gonna create my own company. I'm gonna start a company."
Lovely.
And so many people said to me, "Oh, how's that possible? Why are you throwing your life away? You could have such a big corporate career." I'm like, innovation, no? I thought it would be fun. So anyway, so that's kind of the spirit of the end of the 80s, okay?
Right.
So every time I see the fintechs now and the insurtechs, I think, like, guys, go for it, have fun, innovate. I think it's great, I had venture capital, so, but, there's been a great wave, and it's brought a lot of innovation. But of course, there's been a bit of exaggeration, a bit like in the dot-com days, People
Right.
kind of forget to create a business model and a revenue model. I think at some point you need to make revenue and you need to make profit, and otherwise your company doesn't survive. So what we've seen in the COVID period now, and that's both true in the banking side and the insurance side, is there's been a bit of a shakeout, and a number of companies have not been able to get their secondary funding or tertiary funding because the venture capitalists started saying, well, now it's time to show the money, to show. So I think there's now a focus. But I think it's all for the good, okay? So there's now a focus on companies, insurtechs that are either, let's say, competitors, new entrants compared to classic insurance companies, but then they're in a way where they can also make money, or insurtechs that concentrate on enabling the existing insurance companies to do their thing better, to be that
Yes.
amazing digital
Yes.
company like we were talking
Yes.
about
Yes.
in the
Yes.
digital by default world. And
Yes.
also in a way where they can make their money. So I think it's like a good cycle of let's say cleaning up and making that sector of insurtech stronger. And what I already see is that the ones that understood what's going on, how the world has changed, they're going to be the winners also in insurtech. Okay, some insurtech companies are still in the previous world, and they don't get it. And I think they will not. They will have a hard time. So to me, I'm saying to the young people out there: you're creative, you have ideas, go for it. Make sure you have a business model and understand the modern world, because suddenly we're now 5-6 years further. Be in that modern new world. Don't be a company from the past. And then I think it will work. The other thing I will say to that is, is on the existing big insurance companies, every insurance company should be a fintech company, an InsureTech company now. You should
Absolutely.
be. I mean, you're already doing a lot of stuff. I know you're doing amazing things. Even the fact we're on Instagram. So, so people ask me sometimes, what's the insurance company of the future? Well, I say, well, you're looking at it. It's Instagram. It's true, no? It's true, because all the rest, Instagram is now going to roll out huge e-commerce facilities. Right. Everything is going to become e-commerce. That's going to happen in the next week. I mean, there's already e-commerce, but then now they're going to be like Shopify or Alibaba or Amazon. It's going to be as good or better. Okay, they're doing that right now. So think about it. If you think of insurance, what is insurance? Well, there's all that paperwork that will be done automatically, but the rest is that human contact. And maybe I can show things around and say, look, this is the house that I want to insure. Okay,
that's a lovely view.
Yeah. Look, that's our garden.
Beautiful.
But so I can show you my car and my house through Instagram to you, the advisor, and I say, do I have the right policy here? And then you say, yeah, Edwin, are you sure that the value of a house is not bigger than what you said in the policy? And then we can talk about it. You see, so you could actually do your whole insurance company just on Instagram, for example.
Right.
That's the future for me. Instagram or similar tools, but I'm saying. So every insurance company should be an InsureTech company of the future, and every InsureTech company should be an e-commerce company. That is really how I see the future of InsureTech.
Very well said, Edwin. And in fact, I'll just add one line. I've spoken to a few InsureTechs. They said the right model is experience of the past and tools of the future.
Exactly. That's a very good
If you mix it, if you go the other way around, then you're doomed.
I like that. That's true. You said that very, very well, because I've seen a number of them over the previous years also where I'm like, oh no. Where I'm like, okay, you can be young and enthusiastic, all right? And you can say, I want to disrupt everything. Okay, yeah, of course, that's great. But there are still some, I would say, laws of physics that apply in insurance. Like, if you're in property and casualty, ultimately, you need to get more premium in than the amount of claims you're going to pay out. All right. So that says something about how delicate it is to set the price of the policy. Huh? But it also says something about risk selection, that you have to underwriting, as boring as the term sounds, is absolutely crucial, because that's what it's about. Okay. And also claims handling. You can't. Okay, let's say I got a damage here on my roof and you guys come and repair it. Well, you still need to have a good estimate how much the repair is going to cost, because you could spend easily twice as much on the same repair. It wouldn't be better, but it costs you twice as much, and in the end, the insurance company doesn't survive. So there's all these basic things that of the business of how to do insurance that are always true. And you can then, then you need to just do them in a modern way. We can take out all the old stuff that we don't actually need. I remember the first times I worked with insurance companies, beginning of the 90s, and one of the reasons was because of my PhD. I'd done a lot of advanced mathematics, and then you often end up working, with insurance companies because they're like actuaries and they like that kind of. And I'm like, why are you guys doing this? And why are you guys doing that? That sounds silly, And then they said to me, don't ask all these questions. This is just the way things are done, because we've always done things that way. I'm like, yeah, but I can see things that you should do because it's just sound business, the right price for the premium and all that stuff. But there's other things that I think maybe it's like from 2 centuries ago and they probably don't apply anymore. So, you have to make that distinction. And that's exactly what you said, between doing the right things and then modernizing. It's quite funny sometimes.
Great insights again, Edwin. I can see the passion, with which and your expertise clearly comes through. So now again, I come to one part of your role, which is analytics, right? As we all know, right, that when we speak about digitization, and technology, we can't keep analytics away, right? It goes hand in hand. right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how do you see the role of analytics, playing out, right? As we go into the new normal, where, digital by default.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think um, it's all about data, and then the analytics on data. And when you think about it, of all the sectors in all industries, even more than banking, insurance has always been a data business. Always.
Right.
Actuaries, statistical models, collection of data. But we used to do it the hard way. The hard way
Yes.
meant
Yes.
I used to go into an insurance back in the 90s. Makes me old. I used to go into an insurance company to help them to better estimate how their models should work for risk selection. And then we would take the claims files, which would be paper files, thick like that, and then we would take piles and piles of meters and meters from the archives, full of dust. And then with a poor consultants, an army of 50 consultants, we would have them sweat around and manually go page by page through that, and then write it all down and put it in Excel and I don't know what, and it would all be very, very hard to collect the data and then to analyze it and make sense of it. Okay, really hard. And we would probably miss 3/4 of what's really actually in there because it's just all paperwork. Who knows? In these piles and piles of paper. But now, of course, I can have everything in data lakes. I'll give you an example. The biggest insurance company, or at least the insurance company for whom I'm doing the biggest data lake, it's 30 petabytes. 30 petabytes, okay?
Wow.
So a terabyte is 1,000 giga and a peta is 1,000 peta, all right? So 30 petabytes. And
Wow.
30 petabytes. And in that 30 petabytes, every month there's one extra petabyte.
Oh.
Can you imagine? A petabyte a month coming in, all right? With
My
information
God.
about houses and cars and all kinds of extra information around micro weather, by neighborhood, traffic, or whatever information, that it actually can or not have an impact. We don't always know. It's that thing about you don't know what you don't know. So
Yes.
a lot of it is about finding the unknown unknowns. Huh? Donald
Right.
Rumsfeld, remember, he's the one who immortalized that phrase when he spoke about the unknown unknowns. So since then, everybody knows about that concept. But that's a tricky thing, no? So, and to give you an idea, also, if I get 1 petabyte a month, all right, just from a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, with the technology we had then, I would need an army of people just to process the incoming petabyte. It would be impossible. I calculated I would need about 1,000 people for about 3 months with the tools we had in those days to process the input of 1 month.
Right.
So that's obviously not going to go very well because then the next month arrives and then it piles up and so I could just never get there. So I can't. So, but now we can do that very differently, all automated. It's all automatic because otherwise there's no way to do it. So, what is an insurance company of the future for me? It's a big data lake with internal data and external data sources flowing in,
Lovely.
like a
Lovely
river
way.
of information.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
automatically processed. And then we have machine learning that sits on top. Because, and we train the machine learning and it looks at things and it finds the known unknowns and it finds a number of unknown unknowns. It finds the things,
Right.
the correlations that we didn't know existed because we could never see them with our human brain in the spreadsheets with thousands of columns, but the machine can see it in the petabytes. And then I can see exactly why things are what they are. Why are certain neighborhoods having more types of damage of a certain type? Why are certain cars or certain parts of the population having more types of accidents? Why are certain medical things happening more in certain areas than others? Okay? And I think it's really wonderful because in the beginning when we did these things, we used to tend to do better price setting and better claims, which is obvious. But now we do it for prevention. Because I remember saying to one of the insurance companies, like, so one of them was, and when you think about it afterwards, it's totally obvious. Huh? It's like, why do we have a lot of leaks at the bottom of the roof in the beginning of the autumn, or November in the Western world, so the West Europe or the north of the US? Well, it's very simple. It's because the leaves are falling and they go into the gutter and then the rain can't get through. And so the rain comes through the roof. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, okay, that's obvious, no? But nobody saw that in the data.
Yes.
All they
Yes.
saw
Yes.
was damage to roofs and people repairing roofs, and nobody bothered to see what part of the roof and why was that actually the case. And when did that
Very
actually
good
happen?
example.
Oh, but it always happened after we have a heavy rain. Yeah, of course, because then it can't get through the gutter. Because if it's a little bit of rain, and most of the time it's a little bit of
Right.
rain, then it's okay.
Right.
And it says to me,
Right.
oh, but then maybe we should also look at where is that rain? Can we predict micro weather? Because if I can predict micro weather, then I can prepare all those roof repair people that they can go and be ready for the repair, so they don't have to wait 2 weeks before they go.
Absolutely.
And I can do automatic
Yes.
claims handling, because I know when somebody tells me in that neighborhood there's something with his roof, I don't have to send an expert, because I'm like, yeah,
Right.
of course, let's just go, because every day I wait, there's more damage and it costs more money. So it's better for the
Right.
person, it's better for me. Okay. But then the next thing that happened is then we said, yeah, but hang on a second. If we know that's always going to happen in November, then why are we just preparing the people that do the roofs? Why are we preparing those roof repair people so that they can go and quickly repair? Why don't we clean the gutters first? Because
Right.
going to clean the gutters in October is a lot cheaper. That costs almost nothing.
Absolutely.
Yes. And
Yes.
then what happens is the insurance company, it becomes very different. Rather than predicting damage, which leads to risk assessment, we predict prevention, and we actually do prevention. And I think that's amazing, no? How things have changed in the last few years.
Absolutely.
And that's where it's going to go, no? I think that's fantastic. And that's all because of data, and analytics. I think it's an exciting future ahead. I think a lot has changed already in insurance, but a lot more is going to change in the next few years, and for the better, clearly.
I think fantastic, way you explained it, Edwin. I could see the, the audience appreciation, especially the example
Nice.
around
Thank
the
you,
risks
guys.
and prevention.
Yeah.
So two things there, Edwin. One thing which we have seen on data is, today customers don't realize how much data unknowingly they're putting out on the internet. Every time you sign up for an app, you're giving away data. So what we have seen, even in the Silicon Valley, there are a lot of startups, whose business cases, you give me a sliver of data and I'll drop the entire picture for you. So I think that's something we have seen. And the other is, for example, the point that you made, there are strategic shifts happening. For example, if you look at health insurance, you buy it to take care of illness, but the moment you move into prevention, you're moving from illness to focus on wellness.
There
So
you
how
go.
can an insurance company, be with you, during your wellness, phase? So we, for example, have an app, we are helping customers, to, be with them through their entire journey. So like you said, it's going to be, highly exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
you give the right example. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I was saying that, that brings us, to the next question.
Yeah.
Which is, while we all have heard, right, there's always buzzwords coming, blockchain, IoT, AI, machine learning, right, and so on and so forth. In your experience, Edwin, what do you think are the right and relevant technologies, for insurance going forward?
Yeah, I think you mentioned them. What do I say? So first of all, the data thing. So the lakes, collecting external data, machine learning, full automation, obviously, of the whole paper trail. No more paper. All those types of things. Instagram type of interfaces for your customers. That kind of thing. Enabling also your advisors. Suppose you were my advisor and we were quickly talking now on Instagram. You would have a screen on the side somewhere that would show all the data about me and my properties and whatever else and my health, so that you could immediately give me the right advice and that kind of stuff. So what's the future? Well, I think you mentioned it. I think it's IoT, definitely. If there's any sector, and it sounds almost like a paradox, because insurance is like the most of the abstract and paper type of, industries, of all industries that we know. Right? It's actually just all totally intangible. However, that's one of the areas where we see the most IoT examples. Okay, because think of it: sensors in the house against burglary, but also to see not just fire, but any kind of problem that could be, leaks, for example, sensors on the pipes that can see differences in pressure, or for example, if some of the taps are not working very well anymore, what happens is, because I know that's still from the, then every time you burst like a bit like a sound signal going through the pipe. Now we can't really hear that. Sometimes you actually hear it. You hear like tock, 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 tock or something, but that's like the really heavy ones. But normally it's like minute micro things. So there are like these microphones that you can put on top of pipes, and the same with the gas pipes and so on, you know? And then you can really see what's going on. So I can imagine that the house will be full of these types of sensors, and we will know long in advance whether maybe your gas burner, your heater needs to be, or your air conditioning needs to be repaired because it starts to make funny noises. Noises we don't hear, because when we hear them, it's probably too late already. Okay, so the insurance company can really do that prevention thing really well. And the same with health. Obviously, there's the Fitbit type of thing, solutions, but it's going to go much further. A friend of mine, he's got a big startup. That's I think he's going to become super rich with it. You know, I should have joined him. And they're gonna go live in a few months from now with you know, like Google Home and the Amazon, you know, things. You know, they have like a pot like that, but it's full of sensors with the very latest of the technology from MIT and so on. And you put that a few in your house. Suppose you have a big house and you put them in a few places. They scan the area with ultrasounds and radar. And they make an automatic map of the whole house, 3D. Imagine, eh?
Wow.
Full map with all the functionality of the house. The sensors detect where the doors and the windows are and everything. Right? It detects the people that are in the house. It can, they can read the individual's heartbeat. The microphones can sense the individual breathing.
Wow.
So, and out of the breathing and the heart rate, they do real-time diagnostics, medical diagnostic. Oh yeah, because it's all in the, it's like what Ramdev teaches us, like, this thing, it's all in the breathing, no? You can, so they pick that up because they're so sensitive, and they have the machine learning to do that. All right. So, and then they have moisture measurements. I mean, they have all kinds of measurements. Yeah, they can see the movements of the people. So for the first applications are all for old people, you know, really old people, so that they don't have to go to a care home. Like my mother-in-law, she's really old, and we try not to get to a care home, and we try and give her dignity and that she can live in her own apartment. But there's a whole support structure behind her for my wife and I to help her. My wife cooks for her all the time, and then there's cleaners, and there's nurses, and there's all kinds of people. But we're still afraid regularly that she's going to fall, or something horrible is going to happen or something to her, you know. So my wife is with her on the phone like 24/7 basically. But with that machine, we could know if there was something going on. If her movements were not normal, we could sense that. You know, so you can imagine these types of applications, and then of course that's going to come mainstream also for, let's say, the people that are not of old age and everything. But you can see how the whole health thing is going to evolve so much because of these next generation IoT solutions. And who's going to do that? Well, lots of companies could do that, huh? And Amazon could do that, so to speak, and say, I sell you the machine, and then I give you a service on top. But I think, who's the most natural person, most natural company to do this? The one that's most trusted, the one that will understand the risk management and the mathematical models you need to understand how much this needs to cost the best. Well, it's the insurance companies. And they're also the most trusted brands, okay?
Yes.
Because that's the essence of an insurance company. Huh? You give them money on some vague promise because you hope and you believe that when something bad happens to you, they're going to be there to help you. Huh? That's what it is, no?
Yes, absolutely.
But that's all about trust. Trust in difficult circumstances. Not when things go well, but when things go bad. That's the essence of an insurance company. And therefore, in all of our surveys, in all of the tests we've done, we see that the insurance companies are best placed to evolve to become those trust services of the future for, you know, for life, basically. You know, that to me is the future because of IoT, basically. You know? I
think very well expressed, Edwin. And you know, I'll just pick a couple of points from what you said. One is you'll be happy to know, that we launched IoT-based products, nearly 2 to 3 years ago. Yeah, and we launched one very good feature called Geo Fencing. So what happens is, if you have a couple, who are working, then if the driver takes the kids away on a different route, they get an alert. So that was one. And to the point that you made, about wearables, right? There is a platform in the US called FitSense. So what happens is they collect data on wearables from various companies. These companies don't share data with one another. They share it with FitSense. FitSense then works out real-time products and gives it back to the companies. So it's a win-win for everyone. So today you will see these new forms of, platforms emerging. Data monetization through, aggregating data, right? So I guess, that's well and truly on, right?
Yeah. I think I was laughing at that smiling because, Lululemon. Lululemon is one of the most famous brands of yoga. And my wife, she's a yogini and so on. So she always wears that kind of clothes. And they recently bought a company that does that type of smart technology. So I can see in a few years from now, yoga clothes, for example, or other clothes having true wearables. I don't really believe in wearing gadgets. I think that's not really sustainable. But if it's integrated in the clothes, because clothes you're going to wear anyway, we're not going to walk around naked. So we're going to wear clothes. But if the clothes are intelligent, then that opens up so many possibilities.
I completely agree with
real-time diagnostics, and monitoring.
Yes,
so, definitely.
Yes. No, very well said. I think, and I think people relate to that, Edwin, because what you are saying about real-time intelligent clothes giving real-time data, people can relate to that, because in India, of course, many people do yoga, right? So they can relate to
definitely,
that. So which brings me to the next question, which is again taking a cue from this, right? Because we spoke about technology, we spoke about analytics, we spoke about the future, right? But the customer is at the center of everything that we do, right? Therefore, how can this entire digitization drive, from these various angles, how can they help the insurance industry engage the customer better?
Yeah, I think we live in a social media world now, as you can see today.
Right.
And that's a bit why I'm saying every insurance company should be an InsureTech and an e-commerce company. Actually, every insurance company should be a social media company.
Right.
You're already doing it. Right? So I think there's probably three ways in which you probably interact with your customers in the future, face-to-face, or which could be through Instagram, by the way. So that means that what I spoke about in the beginning, that human thing, okay? There's a beautiful quote I thought it was a beautiful quote from the chairman of a very big bank insurer, very, very big one. And he said to me a few years ago already, he says, my vision is everybody in the company needs to be customer facing.
Wow.
Everybody in the company needs to be customer facing. And at first when he said, I'm like, yeah, okay. And I thought, yeah, that's actually very true. Because he says, well, if we're all going to do everything automatically, then what are these people doing in my back office? There's so many people there. It's not very useful. It's not very interesting for them either. But I mean, that's not very useful, is it? So why do I need human beings in my company? Now, if you think about it as an insurance company, you will need a number of people that are your risk assessors and that understand the risk model. So they own the insurance products from the essence of the risk perspective. Now, they should also be a little bit customer facing, because it's only by being in the field that you actually understand what's really going on. But okay, they're not really doing customer care, but at least they're also, even they will be a bit 50% of their time customer facing. But virtually everybody else, I would say 90% of the company is customer facing. Okay, that's the first point. And they're there not for the paperwork, they're there for the human interactions. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is social media. Okay, it's not just that that group of people go through social media, it's that the company communicates and interacts with its community around it and its ecosystem around it through social media, but also listens. Okay, we do a lot of voice of the customer analytics. Okay, that's where we help through social media the companies listen to what's out there. What are people talking about? What do they care about? What's important to them? What do they like? What do they not like? How would they like things to be? So it's all of that listening thing. And then the third thing to me is the IoT stuff we spoke about. You know, is literally let the machines listen to what's happening in the world and use that. I think to me those are like it's almost like a little framework, you know, with three things that, you know, you could almost imagine that a framework with three corners or something of how a company communicates. And I think when you think about it, in this fast moving world, it's all about communication, because
absolutely
every company will have machine learning in a few years and data lakes and whatever. What's the difference? The difference is in how you listen and how you talk and how you empathize and how you actually do the right thing for your customers. Okay.
Right.
We already see that happening now. I say, as part of my new points of views after COVID, I say the competition now is truly only one click away or one swipe away.
Yes.
Because now I'm in Instagram with you. If I don't like it, I just literally tap you away or swipe you away. It takes one finger, just like this, and you're gone.
Exactly.
And I go to your competition. You know,
yes.
that is how bad it is with competition these days. So there is zero tolerance for mediocrity. Zero tolerance for mediocrity. Yes. And how can you not be mediocre? Is because you need to be innovative. You need to really do the right thing. You need to do, you know, like you guys are thinking about the NPS and so on. You need to listen to the customers. That's the only way. You know, so there's really, that becomes the crucial skill of the company, really, more than anything else. You know.
I completely agree with you, Edwin. In fact, coming to, you know, listening to customers, I just want to share one perspective. When we listen, we also figure out customers' unstated needs. Because most people are only meeting stated needs. So I'll tell you three things we did. When the pandemic happened and people were worried about COVID-19, we gave them a self-assessment kit on their mobile app. So that, you know, they could get themselves tested. Similarly, we came out with a doctor on chat feature so that they can get a digital consultation.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we also came out with a social trackback. Now, no customer came and told us that was a contact tracing feature. You know, so by listening to customers, you know, we are able to come out with, you know, proactive features. So your point on listening is very well taken, and listening followed by immediate action.
Yeah. Not just sit there and listen, of course. So that's really, that's amazing. I think that's amazing. It makes me think of that quote of that famous quote of Henry Ford about the faster horse. When he made the Ford T model, the first mass-produced car, then they said, didn't you listen to your customers? He says, if I had listened to my customers, they would have wanted a faster horse.
Exactly.
But you know, there is that set of things that, and of course there are faster horses you need to give to your customers all the time. That's clear too, and faster 4T models, and 4T models not just in black but in other colors too, and obviously you obviously have to do that. But you should not forget, like you said, there is a lot of unconscious demand out there that is kind of bubbling up to the surface, and somebody needs to see it and capture it. You know, and then bring it to life, and that's you gave a fantastic example of that. And on top of that, in the COVID situation, you know, which is a very tragic situation, this is not about gimmicks. This is about serious stuff that you do. So that's really great.
Absolutely. So the next question again, Edwin, you know, picking a cue from what you said, you know, you spoke, for example, about Instagram model, right? You just showed us a beautiful house. So when you see digitization, when you see e-commerce, right? And all of them, you know, coming together, right? How does it kind of give that new direction, you know, to insurance company, customers, business models, right? And the way forward?
You mean the how you interact with the customers or distribution?
How do we interact with customers, and how do business models evolve as e-commerce, you know, increasingly kicks into play?
Yeah, well, I think it's a good question, by the way, because there's a thing there that discuss a lot with insurance companies across the world. It's like a really hot topic, you know. If you're a P&C company, let's say, so property and casualty, for example, then the objects you are insuring, so to speak, they're all going to e-commerce now. All right. It's all becoming e-commerce because the rest of the world is becoming e-commerce. So you know, a Tesla, you buy your Tesla online. Okay, we've built for lots of car companies and actually for lots of banks, we've built applications so that people can buy their car online with a few clicks. Now they may go to the dealership to go and sit in the car, which by the way most people still do, but almost nobody buys a car without sitting in it. So that's why we say you buy the car in the car, because that's the moment when you say, I actually want that car because it's nice. I may not do a test drive, but I like it, okay? But then the rest is just a few clicks, okay? Now, think of the insurance in that story. If I buy the car with just 2-3 clicks and the financing is automatically included, okay? I don't know the numbers by heart in rupees, but in dollars it'd be, oh, this car for you is $299 a month, okay? For your 4 years, $299 a month. Right? It's not, the car is so many, I don't know, $15,000. No, it's $299 a month.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because the financing is included. It's not a separate thing. That's how I buy the car.
Yes.
I don't go and get a loan. It's just in it. Yeah, but the $299 is also including insurance.
Right. Yes.
So, but I never spoke to an insurance person.
Yes.
I don't even see the insurance. It's all insured.
Yes.
And from there you then go to, but it's also with extended warranty in $299.
Yes.
And it's with repairs for the next 4 years included. And maintenance included in the $299.
Yes. Yes.
But if you think about that, the repairs, that's not just the garage, the fee for the garage to repair the cars, you know. That's an insurance model, because it's actuaries calculating what is the likely amount of work that needs to be done on that car over the next 4 years, okay? And how much will that cost? And then we will make a provision, okay? And that's what goes into the premium for financing the repairs. It's actually an insurance product. People think it's a garage product. It's not a garage product. The garage that will do the maintenance and the repairs of that car is just like your claims handler. So when you think about it, we see that more and more. A lot of products and services have an embedded insurance component, which doesn't look like an insurance. It's a service that I'm getting.
Yes.
To the example also about the maintenance of the roofs. In the UK, for example, in our UK house, we have a contract also with one of the companies there, the gas company, does gas and electricity, but it also preventively repairs and maintains everything, the roof, the pipes, the electricity, the gas, everything. But that's an insurance product, actually. And then, and then there's a fleet of people repairing, all right? So the more things get onto e-commerce, the more insurance is embedded. Nobody's going to go back after buying something online, which we are now all do, and then say, oh, now I'm going to call my insurance agent, okay?
Absolutely.
You don't do that anymore.
Yes.
So the insurance companies really need to structure their products so that they are, you know, embedded into the services of the others, and that they are bought through e-commerce, okay? And that brings me again back to the fact that that advisor, and now it's not about the paper trail that's gone, but the advisor from the insurance company, he's there or she's there to advise, to counsel me on whether that maintenance contract or whatever it was, or that guarantee that I got, is actually the right one.
Right.
About the essence of it.
Absolutely.
So I think it's all going to happen on e-commerce. Health products will be sold on e-commerce. And life and investment products are e-commerce now.
Absolutely.
If you're a life insurance company and you sell unit-linked, you know, insurance products, okay, so with underlying funds, who's your competition? Your competition is Alibaba, and your competition is Robinhood. In America, your competition is Robinhood. You know Robinhood? Robinhood.
Yeah,
for the ones that don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so there might be similar ones in India now, but Robinhood is e-brokerage for free. For free.
Wow.
Okay, and it's now the biggest brokerage in the whole of the US, and has forced all the other e-brokerages like Schwab and Ameritrade and so on, and E-Trade and so on, to all bring their prices down to zero or almost zero. They broke the whole business, all right? But there's also lots of funds that are at zero cost or almost 0 basis points cost compared to the funds, other funds. A lot of funds used to have 150 basis points cost per year, so 1.5% of the fund per year cost. Yeah?
Right.
But a lot of funds now are at 0 cost or 10 basis points, so 0.1%. So if I now for my investment portfolio, for my pension or for whatever, for financing the studies of my kids later on or something, where would I go? Well, I could go to Robinhood, as I'm in the US, and through Robinhood, which is for free or virtually for free for most of it. And then I would take those funds that are also for free. I can do investments for free or for almost for free. That's all right. So if you're an insurance company and you're going to come with your unit-linked life insurance, then I'm going to think like, that looks very expensive. And I have to fill in paper and I have to see the guy. And I'm like, but with a few clicks, I already had that on Robinhood. It was for free. So you see,
Absolutely.
so everything becomes e-commerce, and that's where you need
Absolutely.
to be in every line of insurance.
Yes. Edwin, thank you so much, for sharing. I'll just only tell you one thing, that we have already done that. For instance, we have a tie-up with a major player here. So we also sell, for example, mobile insurance, and we came out with a specific product, to, make, the claim process simple. And we got an NPS in excess of 90. So your point is taken.
Yeah.
And as we speak, I just got a reminder from Sindhura. The conversation was fantastic. A lot of appreciation. In fact, we've overshot the time, and Instagram does a default cutoff. So much as we both of us would like to continue, she says, we'll have to wind up because it'll be a default cutoff. But thank you so much, Edwin. It was a really wonderful conversation. I can make out that the audience really enjoyed it. The beautiful, examples, with which you explained your knowledge of India, and the entire thing. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so very much, Edwin.
No,
and thanks to the wonderful
everybody. Thanks for joining. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Talk soon. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.